What's crazy, Michael, is that you've now got, you had the Supreme Court weigh in twice so far on the Alien Enemies Act, which is Trump's best tool, he thinks, toward getting these people out of here and getting them out fast. And the first one was, this statute is reviewable, but only in a small part. And the second was, and to say, if you want to bring a challenge under it, you have to file a habeas proceeding, meaning an objection to whether you qualify as like an actual gang member under his order in the jurisdiction where you're being held. So, not in front of D.C. Judge Boasberg, but in that case, it was in Texas where they had the deportees. And then, secondly, they just weighed in on Friday night to say, stop all deportations under the Alien Enemies Act until we can figure out what's going on, which was very sweeping, 7-2. Alito went off the next day. And not a good ruling for Trump, but not a permanent. That's like, just stop until we can address this case on the merits, and it's working its way up. But what you got in the meantime was this decision from this Judge Sweeney, Judge Charlotte Sweeney, a Biden appointee, who just ruled that she's certified a putative class, meaning she's given the initial blessing for this whole thing to be on a class action track for all Alien Enemies Act deportees to be part of a class, and said they have to get at least 21 days notice before you can remove them. So she said, the Supreme Court didn't say how much due process is enough, but according to this judge, we have to, for 21 days, we got to let these people stick around. This is the worst of the worst. Can you imagine what's going to happen when we get to the ones who aren't additional criminals?
I mean, it is preposterous. I mean, the idea that you're going to have ICE roll up and give this 21-day notice, which is like you have 3 weeks to disappear from here and find a cousin in another state to stay with until we lose you again. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. It's basically lawless. I understand. I understand a little bit why some Democrats and some judges are alarmed by the use of this act. Whether it's really proper to consider illegal immigrants, part of a hostile invasion, in the laws of war. I understand that reticence, but you can't just make up law like out of nowhere and invent judicial process from nothing. But we've seen this over and over again, this judicial brinksmanship under Trump that is absolutely destabilizing to self-government. It's not a surprise that you're getting a lot of, MAGA Republicans getting radicalized about the judiciary and saying, we need to, in the words of J.D. Vance, like the court's issued its warning, now let the court enforce it. And just ignore the judicial branch. I don't think Donald Trump wants to go that far, but boy, that ruling really is tempting. Is a tempting test case.
Here's what she said. The government must provide both petitioners, in this case, this is out of Colorado District Court, and the provisionally certified class of individuals they seek to represent, meaning all deportees under the Alien Enemies Act, with a 21-day notice to the individuals detained pursuant to the act. So anybody who's going to be deported pursuant to the Alien Enemies Act and Trump's proclamation to get a 21-day notice, must state the government intends to remove the individual pursuant to the act and the proclamation, must provide notice of a right to seek judicial review, must inform the individuals that they may consult an attorney regarding their detainment and the government's intent to remove them, must be written in a language that the individual understands. I mean, these are people who literally crossed our southern border illegally, committed crimes against American citizens when they got here, in some cases resisted Tom Homan when he tried to arrest them. And now, I mean, this is unbelievable. Each one gets 21-day notice and hearing. What's next? Like court-appointed counsel, so we're paying for their defense, and all the way through to the U.S. Supreme Court. Each one of these guys is going to appeal up to the U.S. Supreme Court on the worst. This is why we really are headed for a showdown here, Rich, where if we get more rulings like we got from our Colorado friend, Charlotte Sweeney, a Biden appointee who hasn't done anything in her very short career to distinguish herself as a foreign policy expert or an immigration expert, but now thinks she's co-president, is really, they're begging Trump to ignore them.
Yeah. So on the procedures, this is why we should do many more expedited removals. My understanding, the statute, you can do an expedited removal. It's basically no process. It's kind of a common sense thing. They come here illegally, you turn them back around, and they go home, right? That's what most people
think. But here's the one exception. So Trump expanded expedited removal to go beyond just the southern border and the initial encounter. But if they claim asylum, then you do have to give them an asylum hearing. The broken and insane and lunatic asylum process is a huge element of this immigration crisis we've experienced over the last 10 years or so. It needs to be drastically reformed, and perhaps my friend Mark Krikorian, the Center for Immigration Studies, makes a very compelling case. We shouldn't do it at all. We can have a certain number of refugees, they're in our country, in some other country, and we decide to admit them. But the whole process of someone getting here and then starting this huge procedural process, that means they'll stay, right? That's how it's worked in the past. That's why they're coming. That's why they say these certain things that they think are magic words that get them to stay. That's got to end. But you need Congress to do it. On this thing, the El Salvador prison, I think there are a couple of reasons the administration's dug in. One, they don't like to admit mistakes. I do think Abrego Garcia, clearly deportable alien, could have been deported anywhere else. I think he should come home and be deported to Panama immediately in accordance with the lawful process. But one, they don't like admitting error. Two, they want this power, right, to be able to do this in an expedited manner. Three, as we were discussing earlier, I know MBD disagrees a little bit, they think it's good politics. And four, if, I hope they don't do this, they shouldn't do this in my mind, if they're going to defy a court on something, this thing is set up perfectly for that purpose, right? Supreme Court says, bring him back, and you say, he's in El Salvador. Make us.
You go get him, right? You go get him.
To the point you were just making, here's Tom Homan on Fox today, SOT 4.
Here's what they're doing, Bill. Here's the plan. The Biden administration overwhelmed the system. 10.5 million people came to the border. They know it's going to take years to get through the court docket. By then, they're hoping there's another Democratic administration in. They'll have U.S. citizen children. Then all of a sudden, nobody wants them removed. We're spoiling their plans to have future Democratic voters and through a census, have control of the House. Through a census vote, Democratic sanctuary cities get more seats in the House. This is their plan. Through the immigration courts, through appeal after appeal after appeal, district judge, to slow us down, because their hopes is they'll gain power again, then they can warrant amnesty to 10 million illegal aliens that released in this country illegally. That is their plan, and we're trying to remove these public safety threats and national security threats as quick as possible.
On that same front, MBD, as I mentioned, the Supreme Court stopped the deportations under the Alien Enemies Act on Friday night at 1 a.m. They stopped them. So when's our hearing? When is this resuming? When are we going to know what Trump can do, the commander-in-chief, the duly elected president of the United States? And Mike Davis, very smart lawyer with the Article 3 Project, tweeted out the following: Dear Commanding General John Roberts, when does the President of the United States have your permission to resume his military operation to deport the most dangerous terrorists in the Western Hemisphere? Or do you want the President to ship them to the Chevy Chase Country Club? I mean, now we're talking.
I mean, he's exactly right. I mean, when do we get our president back? Right? I mean, that's the Supreme Court effectively absconded with the presidency until further notice. And we only have Justice Alito standing up. It's insane. And yes, there are limits, right? You could say that the court order says, we want the president to effectuate bringing back Garcia from El Salvador. But he belongs in facilitate. Yeah. But he belongs in El Salvador.
Not effectuate.
And he belongs in El Salvador, and there are limits. I mean, it's not like the Supreme Court can say, send the Navy and launch an amphibious invasion and then go rescue him. Give me a break. I mean, this is making up law.
Tariff wars, stubborn inflation. No wonder gold has been routinely hitting all-time highs. In volatile markets like the one we have now, don't sit on the sidelines with your head in the sand. You can take control and safeguard your savings. That's why so many Americans today are turning to Birch Gold Group. They have helped tens of thousands convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. Is it time for you to hedge against economic instability with gold? To learn how to own physical gold in a tax-sheltered account, text MK to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free, no-obligation info kit. Again, just text MK to the number 989898. With an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, Birch Gold has helped many protect their savings with gold. It took us decades to get into the tangled mess they're trying to unpack now in D.C. How long will it take to get us out? And at what cost? Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.